So we have total testosterone and we have free testosterone we're dealing with here. Our total testosterone is any bound testosterone, and our free testosterone is the testosterone that's being dropped off to selective tissue receptors in the body. So what's happening, guys? Hope your day is going well. We just talked about total testosterone, bound testosterone, and free testosterone just a little bit. So I want to elaborate on that before we jump into this review. Testosterone is produced by the hypothalamus gland. It releases a hormone called gonadotropin-releasing hormone. And that hormone actually attaches to some receptors in the pituitary gland, initiating the release of luteinizing hormone and follicle-stimulating hormone. That's LH and FSH. LH signals to the Leydig cells in the testes to actually produce testosterone. And then FSH signals to the Sertoli cells in the testes, or around the testes. And that actually signals a protein to be released, an androgen binding protein that actually facilitates the amount of testosterone that's kind of being stored, kind of like a reservoir. And then what happens, the way it gets delivered to the receptors in the body to promote free testosterone is by SHBG, which sex hormone binding globulin. This is the transport mechanism. If we get too many of these sex hormone binding globulins in the body, we get too many bound stored testosterone and not enough free testosterone being released and transported. So SHBG will transport the testosterone to make it free by delivering it to receptors, selective receptors in the tissues of the body, wherever it's needed. So testosterone is not just used for our muscle in the gym or our libido benefits or anything like that. There's many functions with this hormone. So jumping right into this, we're going to review Alpha Force by Muscle Force. So getting right into this, but before we do, if you're new to the channel, my name is David. This is my mission to muscle. I review supplements, as you can tell, but I go over the ingredients so you know what the hell you're putting in your body, and I go over my personal effects on the supplement. So getting right into this, put the ingredient profile right in front of me. We have some vitamin D3, 125 micrograms, and zinc at 10 milligrams, good dosages. We are deficient in D3, most of us, because we don't get out in the sun enough anymore. That's where we're pretty much going to get it from. And zinc, a lot of men are deficient in zinc, and they don't even know it. This helps with free testosterone and testosterone levels. So if you're low on zinc, it can actually affect your drive and your mood and all that good stuff. So make sure you're getting enough, maybe 30 milligrams a day at least. Then right on the top here, down to the nitty-gritty, we have Phaedogia agrestis powder, 2 grams. This is a LH mimicking ingredient. So this mimics LH in the body. So it doesn't increase our production of luteinizing hormone. It mimics it. There's a synthetic ingredient that's a prescribed ingredient that's given to people that have problems with producing LH. I think it's HCG. It does the same thing. So it bypasses any kind of the body producing it, and it mimics it by going directly to the testes or the ovaries in women. And this is supposed to increase testosterone levels. There's only been 3 rodent studies, I think, in total. One was they found in 5 days it increased testosterone by 600%. Sounds promising, huh? Give me a second here. And then another study showed that in 1 day of implementing the ingredient into rodents, they had toxicity in the liver, kidneys, and the testes. Ouch. So keep in mind, 1 day in a rat's life is close to 30 days in human days, or in human's life, pretty much. So that 1 day of toxicity is probably about 30 days. So this is something you want to cycle if you're going to come on it. We don't know if this applies directly to humans or anything like that, because they won't do any other studies on this. We want more studies, but they're not going to do it. Who's going to join a study that can have possible toxicity to the liver, the kidneys, and their testes? Not too many people. And then the 5 days of 600%, if it's 1 day, if 1 day of a rat's life is 30 days of a human's life, that means it was 5 months for us to get to 600%, if it applies that way. But I think in 3 days it was up to 300%. So it's a gradual climb, so that's what you should suspect to get on something like this, if it works for you. Then we got Long Jack root powder at 600 milligrams, good dose. You should be dosing this at 400 to 600 milligrams, and you always want to look for the root. So that's great that they listed that it was root powder. That's where all the goodies is on in this product, is in the roots. So if you're looking for a Long Jack, make sure even if it's 100 to 1 or 200 to 1, which it doesn't list here, which I like to see, that it says root extract or extract parentheses, root. So you get the good stuff. This has plenty of studies. It has a ton of studies on it. They did a meta-analysis just recently, though, where they only took 5 studies, and they kind of came to this conclusion that it increases testosterone and free testosterone, but not to a big amount. There are also a few human trials to where it increased testosterone and free testosterone quite a bit, but there was no increases in luteinizing hormone, which is interesting. So the fact that this doesn't increase luteinizing hormone but increases free testosterone, they're assuming, so there's not a lot of studies, but they're assuming that this controls sex hormone binding globulin in the body, so it reduces it. So you're not getting a big stored amount of testosterone, and it's being unbound and freed up into the tissues and the receptors. So that's increasing your free testosterone. The other way this can be happening is through, it did have some manipulation. They thought it had some aromatase benefits to it as far as with estrogen control. But what they're finding out and what most people are talking about now is it affects the androgen receptors in a certain way, which when you start messing with your receptors and your androgen receptors, the body, if you create some agonist and anti-agonist to a receptor, it can create different functions and modalities in the body to produce certain things to happen on different levels. There's actually 2 different axes in the brain for producing testosterone. There's HPA, which is an adrenal axis, and there's HPG, which is the gonadotropin axis. So this ingredient hasn't been studied a lot, except for the studies that's been done to prove that it increases test and free test. There's also been studies that it reduces cortisol levels, and what else? I think that's about it. So we'll jump on to the next ingredient. We have SA3X, which is spilanthes extract. And this is a nutraceutical form of this. This has spilanthanols, which has been shown actually in a good human study to increase substantially LH and FSH, which then increases the testosterone production. It's also been shown to increase nitric oxide production substantially in the body for, our pumps and our vasodilation and blood flow. So a very interesting ingredient. I'm starting to see this a little bit more in test boosting products, and I want to dive deeper in it because they don't explain the mechanisms of action other than it massages the pituitary and the hypothalamus to produce some LH and FSH for those increases. So 500 milligrams, a decent dose. Then we have nettle powder, 500 milligrams. So this is stinging nettle powder. And this is also something you want to look for, that it's an extract of the root, and that's what they say on this. This has some really good benefits for controlling DHT. So this helps stop the conversion of testosterone to DHT, which is that ingredient that can boost test, but also can make, hair fall out and stuff like that and have some adverse effects. It also controls estrogen a slight bit. And because it helps control the conversion of testosterone to DHT, it helps with prostate health. So it helps with the enlargement of the prostate, and been shown to have some great anti-inflammatory benefits. Then we have Androsta 3,5-diene-17-dione. It's a long ass name. I think it's a rimestane is what they call it. 80 whopping milligrams. Usually start this at 50 milligrams. So this is going to increase testosterone and lower estrogen because it is a aromatase suicide inhibitor. So it literally attaches to aromatase in the body, which is something that's secreted, that when it catches up to testosterone, it can turn it into estradiol. So it'll actually attack the aromatase and render it inoperable. Now, this function is kind of drastic in a way compared to like natural SERMs. So SERMs, on the other hand, they attach themselves to the estrogen receptor, tricking the receptor, thinking that it had estrogen attached to it, which then in turn tells the body not to produce as much aromatase. So there's 2 different functions. This is just this comes in as a suicide and just kills the damn sucker, or just paralyzes it pretty much. So it's a harsh estrogen blocker, in my opinion. 80 milligrams. Whew, big dose. Then we got boron glycinate, which is yielding 3 milligrams of 30 milligrams. And boron deficiency, if you have boron deficiency, you can be inflamed. It can create inflammation. It can raise testosterone or estrogen and lower testosterone and lower free testosterone. So you want to be getting 6 milligrams to 10 milligrams a day of boron in your diet. So this is like a supplement at 3 milligrams, because they did a study at 2.5 milligrams, 6 milligrams, and 10 milligrams. And at 2.5, right around that 3 milligram mark, it actually had no effects on raising free testosterone, testosterone, and lowering estrogen. So make sure your diet has some boron in it. If not, then you can always buy boron. It's real cheap. I think Now has a good one. That's what I have on my shelf for 3 milligrams. It's extra that you can throw in this if you think you're not getting in your diet. Because we're lacking a lot of minerals and vitamins and stuff like that, because vegetables aren't what they used to be. Food isn't what it used to be. So, be conscious of that. Try to check your diet and see what you're getting in there, just as far as health-wise for all men. Then we have Biopremin at 5 milligrams. This is a black pepper extract that helps with digestion. I actually have some of this stuff on my counter. If I eat a large meal, I'll pop a tablet, and it does help with the digestion. So it does bring all this stuff together. So Alpha Force by Muscle Force. How were the effects? So we'll start off with libido. This does give you a vigor effect. So it will bring up your vigor. Let's just leave it at that. Doesn't come in until about a week, maybe a little bit sooner, and it just stays. So it doesn't like elevate the longer you take the supplement, but you do feel like a vigor in the back of your mind, as long as your head's right. Because a lot of like ED problems and stuff have nothing to do with the functions in men's bodies. A lot of it has to do with their head. So, post-cycle therapy, we won't get into that, and boosting T levels. So what did I notice as far as boosting T levels? So what we want to look at is we want to look at aggression, we want to look at energy, we want to look at mood, stuff like that. So on this product, through the whole cycle, my mood wasn't really any better. But what I did notice is about a week in, maybe a little bit sooner, I started to notice a little more aggression. And the way I noticed that is I'm a very polite and nice person, and I do know how to control myself in certain situations, thinking about, reaction times. You throw a rock in the water and you got these ripples. So I'll be in a situation sometimes and, my wife will say, "You were too nice," But then I'm looking around, I'm thinking, if I do this and I do that, blah, blah, blah. But all in all, like if you mess with my family, if you mess with my wife or anything like that, and if you guys want some stories, I'll tell you some stories. I'm 0 to 60 and there's no stopping me. So I know when my aggression creeps up and I have to fight it a little bit more. And I started noticing that a week or a little bit before a week. And it increased a little bit, just a tad bit, up into the 2-week mark towards the end. And then it leveled off. So it was sustainable. It didn't take me to this alpha, going off on people, roid rage, nothing like that, but I could subtly feel it in the background. So that's telling me whenever I take a product that is boosting my free testosterone, that's when I know I get a deeper voice in the morning sometimes, and I'm a little more sensitive to that 0 to 60 aggression that I may be prone to having, where my wife has to grab my hand and go, "David," or "Don't hurt anybody." So that is a definite. So this product did deliver as far as those two functions go. Energy, I already talked about well-being. Energy was up. So I'd say after about the first week, my energy level seemed to peak a little bit. And it all mattered on sleep and diet and stuff. And you do have to be on check on diet on this thing for sure. What else can we talk about? Libido, energy. I can't really tell you if total testosterone increased. I'm assuming it did because I know my free testosterone increased. Things to consider on taking a product like this. Just from the things I've read, the studies, everything out there, there's people selling things like crazy. The FDA will come in and they'll try to ban NAC and NMN, which are healthy products, but they're not going to ban a substance like Fidogia extract that shows toxicity on the liver, kidneys, and the testes. It's nuts. No pun intended. But it's nuts. that's it. So saying that, in my opinion, I'm not a professional, I'm not a doctor, but in my opinion, with the stuff I've studied, and this is the reason why I won't continue taking this after 30 days, because of the phagogia. If you decide, because your health is for you to decide on how to actually run it and achieve it. If you decide to run this product, I would cycle off for at least 2 weeks to 4 weeks after running a month of phagogia, just to be on the safe side. We don't know if that stuff, those effects transfer over to humans or not, but safety, take caution on some of this stuff. This product, all in all, delivered. So out of all the test boosters I've taken, this is one of the ones that actually delivered some effects, especially, drive and aggression in the gym. Did I build any more muscle? You're not. I want to cut this right now. For those that follow my channel, most of you guys know this already. This, even if this raises you 100 points, this is not going to act like a steroid for you. So you're not going to build muscle. And even to achieve more muscle, your diet has to be in check, and you have to freaking drive in the gym and push hard in the gym as often as you can, every workout, depending on your physical condition, your sleep, blah, 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 at that training session as hard as you can, 100%, in order to continue to build muscle. This is just going to act like a precursor for muscle building for those that are possibly lacking testosterone production, free testosterone production, drive as far as energy, a little bit alphaness in the gym. So that aggression did deliver that alphaness in the gym, as far as I felt more like, yeah, and get in here. But I did not get any kind of muscle building effects. I don't think they're even putting this product out they're not claiming that this thing's going to build muscle. So Muscle Force is usually pretty good. They're honest on almost all their stuff, and I like that they didn't say build more muscle. I like how they lifted it here. They're being really honest. I respect that. Quality company, and this did hit. It's just like I said, I want you guys, especially those that are younger, listening to my review. There are test boosters out there that don't have phagogia extract in it, like Macho, I think doesn't. I don't know if it does have it in it. There's also single ingredients that you can take. Just take LJ100. Take 600 milligrams of that if you're younger. But before you even take anything, get your zinc in, get your boron in, get your fats in, because that's all going to deal with testosterone production and hormone production as well. So I want to keep you guys any longer. It's on 16, 15 minutes on this. If you guys have any questions or comments, definitely leave them down below. I will answer it. I'll get back to you. Other than that, this is Dave, and this review was Muscle Force, Alpha Force. You guys have a good one. I'm going to get off and have dinner. We'll see you guys next time on the channel.